Unjustly fire me? Let me make you go bankrupt real quick. But first, meme of the day. This happened a few years ago and still makes me giggle with glee to this day. I'm a 34 years old female who has always been a bit of a tomboy. I like cars, sports and reptiles. When I was 25 I wanted a career change and finally follow my dream of working in an auto repair shop as a painter like my father always did. To start my education I needed to already have a job at an auto repair shop as an intern. So I searched and called a lot of companies to see if they had spots. There were literally several companies that laughed at me because there's no place for a woman on the work floor. Disheartened I tried one final company who said he'd take a chance with me. I was thrilled. I was promised lots of opportunities to learn and a steady job after graduation. I started a week later and the first 2 weeks were awesome. I learned a lot and was promised even more opportunities. He promised I would have 2 to 3 hours a week of private time with a resident painter for practice. Soon after though it went downhill. The owner had bid on a contract with a large city in our country to restore underground containers. I had to sand them down, put sealant on the edges and prepare them for painting. Tedious work, but I did it diligently. The promised practice time never happened. After a while, all I did, day in day out, 8 hours a day was sand down underground containers. By the end of the day my hands and wrists were numb from the vibrations. This by the way is illegal. You're not allowed to sand with a pneumatic sanding machine for more than 4 hours a day in my country as it causes severe wrist and hand issues. After several months the contract with the city ended and I hoped my promised practice time would come. But no, it didn't. I was given jobs that had nothing to do with my education. I was told to do jobs that a contractor should do. Like put rebar in front of the windows, repair the sliding doors, repair walls and other small things. Basically nothing to do with my desire to become a painter. After 6 months of doing literally nothing that I could count to my education, my boss called me into his office. He told me he was fed up with my attitude, he made a mistake hiring me. I was fired on the spot. I was heartbroken and cried the whole way home. I didn't get it, I put 110% into my job, working hard, always on time, staying late if needed and never complained. I didn't understand what happened and was pretty down for a while. However, several days later I found out I was pregnant, which helped me get over my downness. We had been trying for over a year so we were ecstatic. When the time came that my final paycheck should come in, nothing happened. A week after it normally came in, I called but was told to not complain and it would be transferred shortly. 2 weeks later, still nothing. Called again and got a very irate boss on the line, cussing at me and calling me things I will not repeat here. I was fed up and contacted my lawyer. Here comes the revenge part. In my country, there's apparently a few laws that my boss broke without me even knowing about them. First, you're not allowed to fire somebody without reasonable cause. You need to document bad behavior and give the employee a write-up. After 2 write-ups you're allowed to terminate. My boss never did this. Unlawful termination can end in a fine, and the employee has a right to get as many monthly pays as the employment contract would have continued if the employee wasn't terminated. Which would mean I had a right to another 6 months of pay. Second, you must pay the final paycheck within a week of termination. We were now going on week 4. After the first week, an employee is entitled to compensation of up to €100 per day of not receiving their paycheck. Meaning I was now entitled to at least €2,100 extra pay. My lawyer wrote up a letter to my boss, stating we would be pursuing my legal rights. He didn't respond. A week later we send another letter, increasing the compensation for late payment as we went. After a month of my lawyer not getting any response. Suddenly I received my pay. No compensation, nothing, just basic pay. My lawyer recommended to go to small claims court and so we did. Mind you, it takes about 3 months before you can appear before court. He didn't even show up in court. But sent a statement through his lawyer saying how I was a horrible employee blah blah blah. However he had no proof whatsoever, but I did. I had my performance reports from 1 month into employment and 4 months into employment. And they were stellar. The judge saw right through my boss's bullcrap and awarded me 6 months of pay, €12,000. 4 months of late payment compensation. This is because he didn't pay the full amount my lawyer requested, as was my legal right. About €12,000. Legal fees, now about €3,000. I was paid the same week. He was then also charged with a fine for violating employment laws. He had to pay $50,000. This resulted in the Employment Bureau. This agency makes sure companies comply with employment laws etc., investigating the company. They discovered the building I worked at was unsafe. The foundation was unstable, walls were crumbling and tilting. He was told to make repairs or they would close him down within a month. By accident they discovered he was also cheating on his taxes. So the tax agency got involved. He got charged with embezzlement and tax evasion for both his companies. He had to pay back all taxes he evaded, plus a 100% fine. Coming to a staggering $250,000 over several years. He didn't have that kind of money, and after struggling for about 2 months, which resulted in him not paying his other employees, he went belly up. Both businesses shut down, and the building I worked at even got demolished. 7 years later it's still an empty plot, and if I ever feel put down by somebody, I take a short drive to that place. And it reminds me, people will sometimes get what they deserve.